Honorable Mr. Justice Aniruddha Bose, Judge, Supreme Court of India. Honorable Mrs. Justice R. Banumathi, former Judge, Supreme Court of India. Honorable Mr. Justice Sandeep Kumar, Judge, Patna High Court. Mr. Sudipto Sarkar, Senior Advocate. Mr. Tushar Mehta, Senior Advocate and Learned Solicitor General of India. Esteemed seniors from the bar, ladies and gentlemen, Namaste and a very good evening to all of you. It is my great privilege and honor to welcome you all to the launch of Sarkar Civil Court Practice and Procedure Manual. For the last several decades, this manual has been a monumental work widely used by the legal fraternity as a dependable and comprehensive reference text. First and foremost, a few words about the concept and purpose of this book. This work is predominantly focused on providing the readers a reliable and handy commentary on various provisions of the Code of Civil Procedure 1908. For ease of understanding, the multitude of provisions and rules in the code are systematically arranged and structured so as to present the readers the entire life of a suit from its institution to execution. Part 2 of the book is aimed at familiarizing the readers with some other key statutes that they may or they will encounter in their day-to-day practice of civil law. And part 3 contains various forms of pleadings, documents, deeds, etc. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor to present to the readers the 14th edition of this celebrated classic and authoritative text. I express my earnest gratitude to Mr. Sudipto Sarkar for trusting me and giving me the opportunity of working on this project. Thank you so much, sir. This is a dream come true. I also wish to extend my heartfelt thanks to the entire LexisNexis team for making this project a seamless exercise. Thank you, Bindu. Where are you? Thank you, Bindu, for your valuable suggestions and guidance, and of course for traveling all the way from Singapore for attending this event. A big thank you to my able colleague, Avinash, for your untiring efforts and support. I would also like to acknowledge my colleagues, Pragya and Pallavi, for your contributions, and my interns, Varnika and Apekshit, for their assistance. Last but not the least, I am profoundly indebted to my family for giving me the space to realize this dream. I hope and pray that like all its early editions, this updated edition too proves to be an indispensable reference guide for the legal fraternity. May I request Mr. Tushar Mehta to say a few words now.
I admit I came to know about something for the first time today, and I am overawed by that fact. This book is more than 100 years old, but that doesn't make it special. We have books which are written before independence, before 100 years, etc., etc. We have Ratanlal Dhiradlal in Criminal Procedure Code or Indian Penal Code or Law of Torts. This is the book which was written by father of the grandfather of Mr. Sudipto Sarkar, and he is the 4th generation lawyer who has continued this illuminating legacy. I don't think we have any similar example in history of India, where the scholarly work of great-grandfather continues to be scholarly with his son, and the 4th generation is equally eminent like Mr. Sudipto Sarkar and my learned friend, of course, who can continue the same scholarly approach. We all know Mr. Sudipto Sarkar. He is an amazing lawyer. Very few academicians prove to be good lawyers, and he is a combination of both. He knows his law and he knows how to practice it with equal proficiency. And both rarely coexist. They coexist in Mr. Sudipto Sarkar. Mr. Sethi has also contributed a lot in this book. I have gone through that book, and it would remain a scholarly book forever. I don't think, and I will not be guilty of any overstatement if I say this, unless there is a change in law, namely the statutory law, this book will not lose its relevance even after 10 years, 20 years, 30 years down the line.
May I now request Mr. Sarkar to address us?
It's indeed a very joyous occasion for me. Well, partly of course because it's a launch of a new edition of this small book, Sarkar on Civil Court Practice and Procedure Manual. The first edition of the book indeed was written by my great-grandfather more than 100 years ago, the late Mr. M.C. Sarkar, who also wrote the first edition of the evidence about which all of you know, that's also more than 100 years ago. Then of course later editions were edited by my grandfather, then my father, and I'm in fact the fourth generation. It is meant fundamentally for a law student who becomes a lawyer. It's at the beginning stage when you get to know by going through this book what civil law is all about. It is not very easy for a busy young lawyer to take time off their professional commitments to edit books. I compliment Mr. Sethi for having been able to do that and in fact making a wonderful job of it. Indeed, I could only, the pandemic is the only thing which helped me to bring all these books up to date. But I must confess, so far as this book is concerned, I hardly touched it after what Sidharth did, which Sidharth must have noticed also. I have always been very lazy, both as an author as also as a professional. So when I found what Sidharth had done, I realized that I don't need to do anything at all except add my name, which I shouldn't have done in any way, I suppose.
May I now request Justice Banumathi.
At the outset, I would like to congratulate Mr. Sudipto Sarkar, Sidharth Sethi for doing this splendid work by coming up with the present 14th edition of the Sarkar Civil Court Practice and Procedure Manual. I am told that Mr. Sarkar, as stated by our Solicitor General, is a very family of academicians. Not only that great-grandfather is the academician, and I am told that other family members are also academicians. I don't want to elaborate, most of you all be knowing about it actually. Because writing a book is not an easy joke. It's not an easy joke. You have to involve everything, heart and soul and all 24/7, no, you have to be involved in that. I think because Mr. Sarkar is from a family of academicians, I think no, he has taken up this massive effort to author this book and revise this edition. No less is the academic interest of Mr. Sidharth Sethi. I would like to compliment Mr. Sidharth Sethi, and I would also like to tell Mr. Sarkar that you have had a very able co-author with you, for editing this work. All of us know that the Code of Civil Procedure has been amended from time to time by various acts of central and state legislature. Actually, the most recent one, last one is the very important one is of 1999. This amendment has been interpreted by various high courts and Supreme Courts. Normally, you don't have a comprehensive one of the latest judgments of various high courts and Supreme Courts. The authors they have, if you just look into the book, the authors have done all analytical work and it has been revised very, very thoroughly. Undertaking such massive efforts by Mr. Sudipto Sarkar and Sidharth Sethi, they have successfully brought out this edition. This has been very thoroughly analyzed, revised, and amended inserted provisions have been incorporated and elaborated upon in the present edition. Not only the latest case laws have been revised, even the existing ones, even the old ones have been thoroughly revised and re-edited. And I am very sure that this will be very useful for all the legal fraternity, all the bar members, not only for the students. Actually, when we are a judge, you don't have time to look into all this SCC online, this, that, and all. Immediately you go to Sarkar, take that particular provision. What is the latest one they have given? This is how normally even all the judges also do it. I am sure that the revised edition would be of immense help.
May I now request our chief guest, Honorable Mr. Justice Aniruddha Bose, to come and deliver his address, and we'll later launch the book also.
Good afternoon, everyone, and Honorable Justice Banumathi, my erstwhile colleague in Supreme Court, and also I think I followed her trail to Ranchi from Jharkhand, Brother Justice Shahi, Sri Tushar Mehta, Learned Solicitor General of India, Mr. Sarkar, Senior Advocate and my erstwhile senior, and also Sri Sidharth Sethi, who I understand has done major part of this revision. The reconciliation of tradition and modernity, I think, is the main challenge to any judicial system. And a system that can carry out this exercise to its optimum helps the society to evolve an effective dispute resolution regime. And in a democratic society, unless there is a pressing need, the legal system evolves through trial and error over a period of time. It largely follows Darwin, then the bearded gentleman from Germany working in a library in London. Seldom there is a revolution in a democratic legal system. Now, Mr. Mehta spoke about procedure being the handmaid of justice. I personally feel, I think there has been some kind of promotion of procedure in the legal system. It's more or less a pilot navigator right now. A large number of new laws are coming, and it's, unless one is adept in the procedure, it's difficult to reach the destination through the new legislative regime. Having said that, I'll say it's indeed an honor and pleasure to have been asked to be present, and on top of that, to speak on the occasion of publication of 14th edition of Sarkar on civil court and practice. If I shut my eyes today, and I think that goes for many of us, and try to imagine or picturize a law library on the racks, along with Ratan Lal, Woodruff, Amir Ali, there would be 4 volumes of Sarkar alongside that green and blue spine of Sirvai on constitutional law and the brown one of shorter constitution of D. Basu. So that is the strong presence. All the writings of Sarkar have in our legal psyche. Now, what about procedure? To quote from an opinion of the Judicial Committee of the Privy Council given in the year 1872, quote, "The difficulties of a litigant in India begin when he has obtained a decree." And this quote is attributed to one Mr. Doyen and also earlier authors. And the view expressed relates to mostly procedural aspects of a decree. So, keeping this in mind, a large number of new legislations, they dispense with principles of evidence and civil procedure code. But the moment the question comes up before the court about what would have been the proper process for undertaking an exercise, the usual answer is the principles of the civil procedure code or evidence law would follow. For instance, Arbitration Act, apart from overall supervision, the execution process has been left largely at the hands of the organ of the state. That part of the arbitration process has not been privatized. And I spoke about the slow evolution. Like in 1859, possibly we had the first civil procedure code in India, followed by 1882, the amendments, and 1908. Again, that 1908 code, there was a wise man from the East, Dr. Rashbihari Ghosh. He had largely contributed to its drafting. The schematic presentation of the book on which we are speaking today shows that it is for the practitioner at the level of initiation of a civil action. This is important in today's context, as a large number of lawyers operate beyond the chamber system, and also many litigations suffer because of procedural defaults. Procedural law is changing. In this book itself, I read about this anti-suit injunction. We have evolved Anton Pillar order, Mareva injunction, John Doe order, Norwich Pharmacol, and super injunction. Now, all these forms of injunction require some kind of legal anchor on principle of law, because often they are passed against persons who are not party to the suit. So this is a valuable addition to any library, including the judges' library like mine. And it's not on civil procedure code, it's on practice as well. And being the last speaker, I think a lot of note I had done, they have shrunk because my earlier speaker spoke on these subjects only. So thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. With your permission, we would now want to officially launch the book, release the book.